Hello everybody, welcome back to Wolfeei Extras. Today we're going to be talking about Block Wars 4, because Block Wars 4 was pretty interesting. Also, this is a continuation of my little series talking about past Block Wars events. The most recent one that I made was Block Wars 3, then a bunch of stuff happened, i.e. MCC came back, and then they came back again, and then a lot of stuff happened. So we can go talk about Block Wars now in the meantime, while we wait for, MCC teams. That was interesting. Anyways, moving on. Block Wars 4, here's the teams that ended up happening for Block Wars 4, and the reason why I want to bring it up is because this event had some things that happened that were good, some things that happened that were bad, and some things that you need to learn from. Also, oversights. So let's go over every single team, okay? We're gonna go from red to pink because there's a couple teams that were fine, and there's a couple teams that had some oopsies. Starting off with the red team was cool, good combo. I think if we did this nowadays, it would be a little bit OP. I don't remember if Misty did really good here for the first time after having a pretty weak performance, obviously, on an underpowered team. So Misty had a massive improvement. Curryway was also new, so we didn't know how to balance him exactly, but we assumed he would be relatively high. But yeah, this red team ended up being pretty good. I think they placed 4th, which is really solid. Point difference here is pretty big, but we'll get to that. Orange team, another case where, despite having 2 newcomers, it ended up being pretty balanced, which is very nice. Yellow team also, pretty solid, very very good all around. Nothing to worry about. I mean, balancing wise, orange and yellow were below the top 4, but they were still fine. Now we get to the lime team, which was my team. The lime team was a little bit scary, okay? A little bit scary, and let me explain why. That lime team originally had 2 different people on it, and I'll show you the team announcement right now. There it is. This is the original team announcement for the lime team. That's right, Quite was supposed to be in Block Wars 4. Now, for those of you who may remember, Block Wars 4... was around the same time that Quite had a little situation going on. Not a little situation, obviously a very significant and unfortunate situation where he was getting accused of things. We're not going to get into that because obviously that has entirely been resolved and it's not my place to speak about. Anyways, that whole thing came out, and obviously Quite took like a month, I think, to respond. Very good on his part, but things were up in the air. We had to not include him in the event, which was really unfortunate because Quite was when we initially invited him, we were super excited because obviously Quite's a really cool guy. So we were like, nice. And look, this team was pretty interesting, okay? It's Lifesteal and SMP Live-esque people and then me. It was such an interesting combo. But yeah, Quite had to be removed. Zam had to drop out. And then we ended up with Gold and Akko, which is a team turned out to be fine. But obviously the whole dynamic was kind of flipped on its head. So that was an interesting one to deal with for sure. Definitely thought that was worth mentioning because I don't know if I ever said that this was a thing. I don't actually remember if I ever mentioned that Quite was initially going to be on in Block Wars 4. But yeah, he also obviously only somewhat recently came back to streaming, which is why his debut event was Rookies 2. So yeah, just wanted to mention that. Can close this now. Then the Aqua Team and the Blue Team, both 2 examples where, sometimes newcomers are an oversight, sometimes balancing is hard. Starting with the Aqua Team, balancing. This team ended up placing 2nd, and it wasn't a wash. Despite Stu and Purpled being on the same team, it ended up being a pretty balanced performance on the team, despite Greninja and Purpled both placing top 2, which I think was due to Sky Zone, but I could be wrong. Either way, this Aqua Team is a prime example of learning that statistics are not the only thing to go off of. Because even though statistically, I'm sure that team was probably balanced. Purple and Stu were probably the outstanding top frags, but then Ollie, Jack, and Eric are probably on the lower end. It probably balanced out roughly fairly. But then if you think about it, okay, Heike Hate Me has the potential to do way better. And Purple and Stu is an insane duo. Obviously that's not balanced, but we didn't think about that, okay? We weren't ready for this. We didn't think about, what is the potential? We just looked at raw performance, which is why that Aqua Team happened and it ended up being a little bit too good. Now we move on to the blue team, and this is where newcomers were very much not estimated correctly, because Cam and Mid Mystic are both very experienced Minecraft players, obviously paired with Booster, Pangy, and Parker. You could assume what we expected from them. Cam, I think, was predicted to be 20th, and I think Mid Mystic was predicted to be bottom 10. Now, if we look at the individual leaderboard this event, Mid Mystic 24th above the expected performance. Pangy also, I think, did better than he usually does in 14th. Booster in 4th was an insane performance. Cam in 7th for a newcomer performance was way higher than we predicted. And Parker in 13th was about as expected. But obviously, we heavily underestimated Cam. Booster had a way stronger performance than usual, and Mid Mystic was also underestimated, which caused this blue team to just be broken. It wasn't even like that big of a wash compared to like the competing teams, but it wasn't really that close either. This blue team is just disgusting. It was so good. And then purple team is an example of where we, again, used raw statistics, but this time it negatively affected the team's performance instead of positively affecting it. And this is why I have Tubbo and Jojo pulled up. Toby had only played one event before this, and he placed 14th, which was higher than we expected, but he did really good. And we used the raw statistic of him having one performance, placing 14th with these points, etc. And then if we look at Jojo had also placed around 10th, 12th, pretty consistently. Obviously only played twice before played in Origins, but we didn't count Origin stats. But obviously 2 very solid performances so far. One of them was on a really strong team, one of them was on a like middle-ish team, I think. But still, looked to be relatively promising. Lewis also, I think, did okay. I think initially this was supposed to be Callum. I think Callum had done a little bit better, but still, Lewis and Callum relatively comparable at the time and still somewhat comparable. And then with Kara and Cub as the newcomer, Cub, I think we predicted like 25th, because I think at the time Cub was already doing pretty good at MCC, so we were like, okay, maybe Cub, got the hang of things for Minecraft events. Maybe Cub will also enter blockwars with a pretty good performance. This team ended up doing a little, maybe not great, and that is not their fault at all. That is just entirely player management and team making's fault, because like said, we used raw statistics and it seemed balanced enough to happen. We didn't think about it twice, which was stupid. We should have thought about it a little bit more. That this team was just clearly underpowered. I think you could have swapped, like, I don't even know who you would have swapped. You should have swapped someone from blue and purple and it would have been fine. I don't know who specifically would have made the most sense. I guess Booster, but then I don't know. I feel like that would have obviously messed with the team balancing in chemistry a little bit. So I don't know. Also, Toby was playing on a laptop in like America, I think, on like a really crappy setup. So if you look at the individual board, you'll find the top frag Lewis in 21st with Jojo 25th, and then the other 3 in the bottom section of the leaderboard, which is totally to be expected. It makes a lot of sense, and obviously, this is just an organizer issue. And then to finish off Block Wars 4, as the title potentially hinted, I don't know what I'm going to title this video, but this event is a bit of a roller coaster. Pink Team is one of the greatest teams we've ever made, so I don't even know how all of this happened at the same time, but Block Wars 4 is kind of crazy. We had a big learning moment with balancing for at least 2 teams. We had a big learning moment with newcomers where we had to check footage to make sure that our estimated performance of them is somewhat accurate, and we had someone getting cancelled, which was really hard to work with. And we also had one of the greatest team combos we've ever made, which was very fun to work with, but combined with half the roster crumbling pretty much was very interesting. The reason, by the way, that the Pink Team is one of the best teams we've ever made is because it is a prime example of what the future of Block Wars was going to look like. Because as much as obviously Abe and Pete are not active Block Wars players right now, maybe they'll join back in the future. We'll see. But as much as they are not active players right now, a variety-esque team doing so well in early Block Wars. Block Wars 4 was you know, it's a little bit lower comp roster than I think previous events had been. Maybe I don't remember specifically, but you know, as much as the comp is slightly lower, they still got third and were like very close to qualifying for bridges at the time, which is insane. That is genuinely such a good performance, and that was just super cool to watch. I know that the people on this team all really enjoyed it as well. I mean, Abe and Pete like signed up again afterwards. I know 5UP was really happy with seeing Fur on this team, as Fur was a bit of a standout player, but worked super well in combination with this squad. And yeah, this pink team was just fantastic. It really did showcase the potential for a you know, variety teams in Block Wars, and I think this team also led to a certain team happening a couple events later, which we might get into later. But yeah, that's the story for Block Wars 4, everything that happened. Yeah, it's early Block Wars was interesting, man. We've gone 4 events deep now in terms of you know, revisiting the things that happened, and I think the craziness mostly is over. I mean, you know, Block Wars 5 was like cool. Block Wars 6 was cool, I think. I don't remember exactly what happened. I'd have to look into it a bit more. But, I mean, you know, you have like some pretty interesting combos here. Anyways, that's going to be it for now. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all again, hopefully for another Block Wars revisit video like this, or maybe for something else, whether it's MCC announcing something, other events announcing something. We'll see. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I'll see you later, and goodbye.